Stop eating eggs every morning the way you've been doing. Eggs are still a great source of protein. But if you're over 75 and eating eggs every morning hoping to hold on to your strength, I need you to hear this. You can eat 2 eggs, 3 enough protein by every standard out there, and your muscles will still keep getting weaker month after month. The problem is somewhere else entirely. A 2023 study tracked adults over 75 for 12 weeks. The group that combined traditional protein with 5 specific fruits gained significantly more lean muscle mass than the group relying only on eggs, chicken, and dairy. Real muscle visible, noticeable, helping them rise from chairs faster, improve their balance, and increase grip strength in ways their doctors could actually confirm through testing. I'm Ethan Cole, 15 years in cardiothoracic surgery, and I have to admit something. I saved their hearts. But 6 months after surgery, I ran into one of my patients. He couldn't walk, steadily, couldn't get up from a chair on his own. His heart was working fine, but his muscles had abandoned him a long time ago. That was the first time I realized I'd been missing half the picture. From that point on, I started looking at what happens to muscles after 75, and what I found changed the way I counsel my patients forever. After 75, your body develops something researchers call anabolic resistance. When you're young, your muscles listen to protein signals loud and clear. Eat a meal with protein. Your muscle cells pick up the signal right away. Rebuild, repair, grow, sharp, and efficient. After 75, that signal weakens significantly. Your muscles become hard of hearing. Chronic inflammation goes up. Blood flow to muscle tissue goes down. The signaling pathways that turn protein into new muscle tissue start losing their efficiency. That's why so many people over 75 eat right, eat enough, but still feel themselves getting weaker every year. Certain fruits contain natural compounds that can amplify protein signaling, reduce the inflammation-blocking muscle growth, and reopen the pathways that aging has been slowly shutting down. That's what we're talking about today. Before we get into the list, one thing almost nobody connects. Muscle is the largest glucose-consuming organ in your body. When muscle mass goes up, your muscle cells absorb glucose from the blood more efficiently, directly reducing the burden on insulin. Building muscle doesn't just keep you strong, it also helps your body manage blood sugar better. 2 goals, 1 action. 5 fruits from the most familiar to the most effective for muscle. After 75, each one targets a different mechanism. And number 1 activates something most doctors never mention when talking about muscle loss in older adults. Stay with me to the end because when we get to number 1, you're going to want to share this video with someone you care about. Before we start, I want to ask you a question. How old are you? And do you feel stronger or weaker than you did 2 years ago? Write it in the comments. I read every single one. We start with number 5. A fruit most people have never once thought about when it comes to muscle. Jackfruit fruit. I know your first reaction. Jackfruit fruit. That giant tropical fruit. Yes, that's exactly the one. And once you understand why it's on this list, you'll never look at it the same way again. 1 cup of jackfruit fruit delivers close to 3 grams of protein. That number sounds modest until you look at what comes along with it. Jackfruit contains all 9 essential amino acids your body needs to trigger muscle protein synthesis. A 2022 study from the International Journal of Food Sciences found that jackfruit fruit's amino acid profile closely resembles that of animal-based protein, something rarely seen in plant foods. But here's what matters even more. The protein in jackfruit fruit comes packaged with a trio that aging muscles are desperately short on: potassium, magnesium, and vitamin B6. Potassium controls the electrical signals that tell your muscles when to contract and when to relax. When potassium runs low, your muscles misfire, contracting at the wrong time, releasing at the wrong moment. That's the biological reason behind those 3 a.m. leg cramps that rip you out of sleep. Not random, not just getting old. It's a specific signal from your body. Magnesium helps your muscles recover after any physical activity, even walking to the mailbox. After 75, recovery slows down considerably. Adequate magnesium is one of the key factors that shortens that recovery window. And vitamin B6? this is the missing link almost nobody talks about. Without enough B6, the protein you eat can't be converted into muscle tissue. It passes through your system without doing its job. B6 is the gatekeeper that decides whether protein actually reaches where it needs to go. Researchers at the University of Sydney found that older adults who ate jaca fruit regularly improved their grip strength by 14% over 6 months. Grip strength is one of the most reliable predictors of longevity and independent living in seniors. Now, using jackfruit is simpler than you'd think. Canned young jackfruit is available at most major grocery stores, usually in the international foods aisle. The young variety has a mild flavor and a shredded texture that honestly feels like pulled chicken when you cook it. The simplest way is to drain the can, pat it dry, and sauté it in a pan with a little olive oil, garlic, and whatever seasoning you enjoy. 10 minutes and you've got a warm, protein-rich meal. Or toss ripe jackfruit into your morning smoothie with banana and almond milk, naturally sweet. No added sugar needed and ready in under 2 minutes. Aim for at least 3 servings per week to start noticing a difference. And one important tip, eat your jackfruit with a source of vitamin C. A squeeze of fresh lemon juice is all it takes. Vitamin C boosts the absorption of plant-based protein by up to 30% according to research from Cornell University. Jackfruit handles the foundation, delivering the right amino acids and the mineral trio that aging muscles are starving for. But the next fruit goes deeper. It puts out the fire that's been silently burning through your muscle tissue from the inside every single day. Number 4, guava. A single guava contains over 4 grams of protein. When you compare that to 6 grams in a whole egg, you start to understand why this small fruit earned its spot on this list. But protein content isn't the reason I put guava here. Guava contains remarkably high levels of a compound called quercetin, a natural anti-inflammatory agent that targets the exact type of inflammation destroying your muscles from the inside. Scientists call it inflammaging. Chronic low-grade inflammation burning around the clock. Not strong enough for you to feel clearly, but strong enough to break down muscle, tissue faster than your body can rebuild it. On the operating table, I see chronic inflammation destroying blood vessel walls every day. But that same inflammation is also destroying your muscles slower, quieter, and almost no one notices. Quercetin in guava puts out that fire. When inflammation drops, your muscles can finally use the protein you're eating to build new tissue instead of just trying to survive the damage day after day. A clinical trial at the University of Texas Health Science Center tracked adults over 70 who consumed quercetin-rich foods daily for 8 weeks. The result? A 19% reduction in inflammatory markers and a corresponding increase in muscle protein synthesis rates. And guava packs 4 times more vitamin C than an orange. Vitamin C doesn't just boost protein absorption, it's an essential building block for collagen production. Collagen is the structural protein that holds your muscles, tendons, and ligaments together. When collagen weakens, muscles tear more easily, ache more often, and that feeling of frailty that so many people over 75 accept as normal can actually be changed. Let me tell you about a patient. I'll call him Gerald. Gerald, 73 years old, former construction worker from Charlotte, North Carolina. For 40 years, he made a living with his hands and his legs. But when he came to see me, he couldn't climb a flight of stairs without stopping halfway. Nighttime leg cramps pulled him out of sleep 3-4 times a week. And every morning, he needed a few minutes sitting on the edge of the bed before he dared stand up. He didn't lack willpower. He ate enough protein. He tried to walk every day, but his body wouldn't respond. I suggested he add guava and jaca fruit to his daily diet. Nothing else changed. Same meals, same walking routine. 8 weeks later, he called me. He didn't talk about numbers or test results. He said, "Doc, yesterday I climbed the stairs to the 2nd floor without stopping. First time in 2 years." That's the sentence I'll never forget. Not because it was medically impressive, but because I understood that for Gerald, a flight of stairs was an entire world. To use guava, you can eat it completely raw, wash it, and bite into it like an apple. Because the skin actually contains the highest concentration of quercetin. If you prefer something softer, cut it in half, scoop out the flesh, and stir it into your morning oatmeal or yogurt. Quick, simple, and it creates a protein-rich, anti-inflammatory breakfast that's hard to beat. The best time is 30 to 45 minutes before any physical activity. Even just a walk around the block. Having quercetin and protein in your bloodstream while your muscles are working amplifies protein synthesis by up to 25% compared to exercising on an empty stomach. Guava puts out inflammation and provides the collagen foundation. But the next fruit does something no other fruit on this list can. It goes straight into the power plant inside every single muscle cell and restarts what aging has been slowly shutting down. Number 3, dried tart cherries. If you've watched the earlier video on this channel about nighttime beverages, you know I talked about tart cherry and sleep. But today is a completely different story because tart cherries are doing something to your muscles that almost no one has heard about. Tart cherries contain high concentrations of resveratrol, the compound that made headlines when it was discovered in red wine. But tart cherries contain more of it without any of the damaging effects of alcohol on aging muscles. Resveratrol activates a gene pathway called SIRT1. You don't need to remember that name. Just understand what SIRT1 does. When one is switched on, it tells your muscle cells to behave like younger cells, repair faster, produce more mitochondria, and resist the breakdown signals that your body sends out more and more after 70. Mitochondria are the power plants inside every muscle cell. Think of them as tiny furnaces converting food into strength. After 70, those furnaces start shutting down one by one, year after year. That's why you get tired faster, recover slower, and feel like your body runs out of battery quicker, even when you haven't done anything strenuous. Resveratrol from tart cherries restarts those furnaces. Researchers at the Buck Institute for Research on Aging found that resveratrol improved mitochondrial function in muscle cells by up to 22%. More energy, more endurance, and a greater capacity to build and maintain muscle. And here's what makes tart cherries special compared to everything else on this list. They work at night too. Tart cherries contain natural melatonin, not a precursor that needs to be converted, but melatonin ready to use. When you sleep deeper, your body releases more growth hormone. And growth hormone is the strongest signal for muscle repair and growth. Muscle gets built in the gym, but it actually grows while you sleep. Tarte cherries give you both fuel to build during the day and deep sleep to recover at night. Anthocyanins in tart cherries also improve insulin sensitivity. Good news for anyone worried about blood sugar. Stronger muscles absorb glucose more efficiently, and anthocyanins support that from a different angle. Two pathways heading toward the same destination. The simplest way to use them: eat them straight from the bag like raisins. Mildly sweet, slightly tart, and most people find them genuinely delicious on the first try. Sprinkle them on your morning oatmeal. Mix them with almonds into a trail mix. Probably the best muscle-building snack anyone over 75. To boost iron absorption from tart cherries, eat them alongside a food containing vitamin C, a few orange slices, or some strawberries. Vitamin C increases iron absorption by up to 67%. According to research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, more iron means more oxygen reaching your muscles, and faster recovery after any physical activity. Tart cherries restart the power plants and support overnight recovery. But no matter how well your mitochondria are running, if protein can't get inside your muscle cells, every effort gets blocked at the door. The next fruit solves exactly that problem. It opens the door that aging has been slowly locking shut. If you're starting to realize that simple things from the grocery store can change how your muscles respond, take 1 second and hit that like button. It helps this video reach other seniors who are losing muscle and don't understand why. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it right now. We're here every week with guidance made specifically for people over 60. Out of the 3 fruits we've covered so far, Jack F fruit, guava, and tart cherries, how many are you eating each week? None, 1, or 2? Write it in the comments. I'm guessing most of you will say none. Number 2, avocado, the most familiar fruit on this list. But the reason avocado is at number 2 isn't because of what you already know about it. Most people know avocado has healthy fat, but I've never met anyone who could explain why that fat matters so much for muscles after 75. And once you understand the mechanism, you'll never look at an avocado the same way again. Every muscle cell is wrapped in a protective membrane. That membrane is made primarily of fat. When you're young, it's flexible, pliable. Protein and nutrients pass through easily. After 75, that membrane stiffens up, less flexible, less permeable. Think of it like a door hinge that's rusted over. The door is still there, but you can't push it open. Protein is standing outside the door, unable to get in, right where it needs to be to build muscle. That's why so many people over 75 eat enough protein but still lose muscle. The problem isn't the amount of protein. The problem is the door is locked. Avocado contains nearly 15 grams of monounsaturated fat per fruit. This type of fat repairs and softens those muscle cell membranes like oiling a rusty hinge. When the membrane becomes flexible again, protein and nutrients enter the cell far more efficiently. A 2022 study in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society followed 2,800 adults over 65 for 3 years. The group eating avocado at least 3 times per week retained more muscle mass and scored higher on physical function tests, even though total protein intake between the two groups was exactly the same. Let me say that again. Same amount of protein, but clearly different results. The only difference was whether the door was open or not. As a heart surgeon, I want to add one thing. Cell membrane stiffening up doesn't just happen in muscles. I see the same thing in blood vessel walls every day on the operating table. The monounsaturated fat in avocado supports both your muscles and your blood vessels. Avocado is also one of the richest natural sources of glutathione, your body's master antioxidant that protects muscle cells from free radical damage. Clinical studies show that glutathione slows the progression of muscle loss by neutralizing the molecules that accelerate muscle tissue breakdown. Let me tell you about a patient. I'll call her Dorothy. Dorothy, 76 years old, from Richmond, Virginia. She retired after 30 years as a school secretary. Ate carefully, got enough protein every meal. But over the past few years, she noticed her hands getting weaker. Opening a jar became something she needed help with. Carrying grocery bags from the car to the house meant 2 trips instead of 1. And she started to feel afraid, not of pain, but of losing the ability to take care of herself. I suggested she add half an avocado to her meals every day. Nothing else changed. Same amount of protein, same daily routine. 10 weeks later, she called. She didn't talk about muscle. She said, "Doc, this morning I opened the jam jar without calling anyone. I stood in my kitchen and cried. That's what I need you to understand. This isn't about muscle on paper. It's about a jam jar, about grocery bags, about the ability to live without asking for help. The simplest way to use avocado is to cut it in half. Remove the pit and eat it straight from the shell with a spoon and a pinch of salt. A complete muscle-building meal in under 30 seconds with 0 cooking required. Mash it onto whole grain toast for breakfast. Blend it into any smoothie to make it incredibly creamy. Or dice it into salads, soups, or scrambled eggs. If you still eat eggs, avocado will help those eggs work much harder for you. The optimal time is within 1 hour after any form of exercise. That's when your muscles are most receptive to nutrients. The combination of protein, healthy fat, and potassium in avocado creates what nutritionists call an optimal anabolic environment for muscle repair and growth. Avocado opens the door so protein gets where it needs to go. But everything you've heard so far, jackfruit, fruit, guava, tart cherries, avocado, none of them touch the mechanism that number 1 activates. Because the last fruit on this list doesn't just feed muscles or reduce inflammation. It wakes up the repair crew that's been hibernating inside your body for years. Number 1, dried apricots. Sitting right there in the grocery store near your house. Most people walk past them thinking of nothing more than a harmless sweet snack. But dried apricots contain something no other fruit on today's list has. The ability to activate satellite cells. Satellite cells. You don't need to remember that name, just understand what they are. Think of satellite cells as your muscle's emergency repair crew. They sit on the surface of every muscle fiber in your body in a state of hibernation, waiting for the signal to activate. When they wake up, they fuse with damaged muscle fibers to repair them, and even create entirely new muscle tissue. When you're young, this crew responds fast. Muscle gets damaged. Satellite cells wake up, fix it, Done. After 70, that repair crew falls into deeper and deeper sleep. The activation signal weakens. The number of satellite cells ready to work drops sharply. This is one of the key biological reasons muscle loss accelerates so dramatically in the later decades. Muscle gets damaged, but the repair crew doesn't wake up to do its job. And here's what makes dried apricots extraordinary. Half a cup of dried apricots delivers beta-carotene, potassium, iron, and a distinctive group of polyphenolic compounds. A 2023 study found that the combination of beta-carotene and polyphenols in dried apricots reactivated dormant satellite cells in muscle tissue of participants aged 72 to 89 at a rate the research team described as remarkable for a dietary intervention. Participants who ate dried apricots daily for 16 weeks showed a 31% increase in satellite cell activation compared to the placebo group, and that number translated into real-world results. Improved leg strength, faster walking speed, and the ability to rise from a chair without holding on to anything. 31% from a dried fruit. But satellite cells are only part of the story. Half a cup of dried apricots contains over 0.0 milligrams of potassium, nearly a quarter of your entire daily requirement from a single handful. Potassium regulates the electrical signals that tell your muscles when to contract and when to relax. Without enough potassium, muscles misfire, cramping, weakening, and losing the ability to perform movements you once did without thinking. Dried apricots also contain copper, a mineral most people completely overlook. Copper plays a direct role in forming the connective tissue that holds muscles to bones. A 2021 study in the Journal of Bone and Mineral Research found that adequate copper intake reduced the risk of tendon and ligament injuries by 28% in adults over 70. Dried apricots don't just build your muscles, they protect the entire system that keeps your muscles in place. And for anyone worried about blood sugar, beta-carotene in dried apricots has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, build muscle, protect tendons, and support blood sugar from a handful of dried fruit. Using them is almost laughably simple. Grab a handful of about 6 to 8 dried apricots, roughly a fourth cup, and eat them straight as a snack any time of day. Research suggests that eating them mid-morning or mid-afternoon gives your body the longest absorption window before your overnight fast. Chop them up and stir them into oatmeal or yogurt. Combine them with the dried tart cherries we just talked about for a trail mix. Possibly the best muscle-building snack anyone over 75 could carry with them. One critical detail that determines effectiveness: choose unsulfured varieties, dried apricots with a natural dark brown color, not the bright orange ones you typically see. The bright orange ones are treated with sulfur dioxide to preserve their color, but that preservative significantly reduces the beta-carotene and polyphenols, the exact compounds responsible for the satellite cell activation we're after. Look for packages that say unsulfured or no sulfur dioxide on the label. Store them in a cool, dark place or in your refrigerator to preserve their nutritional potency. If you look back at everything we've just covered, you'll see a very clear picture. Jackfruit and guava handle the foundation, delivering the right amino acids, putting out the inflammation, blocking muscle growth, and replenishing the minerals that aging muscles are desperately short on. Tart cherries restart the power plants inside every muscle cell and give your body deep sleep to recover overnight. Avocado opens the cell door so protein actually gets where it needs to go instead of standing outside and going to waste. And dried apricots wake up the repair crew, reactivating satellite cells that have been hibernating, allowing muscles to repair and grow once again. 5 fruits, 5 different mechanisms, but all pointing toward the same goal: helping muscles after 75 respond to protein the way they've been slowly forgetting how to. And remember what I said at the beginning. Muscle isn't just about strength. Muscle is the largest glucose-consuming organ in your body. When muscle gets stronger, blood sugar gets more stable. When blood sugar stabilizes, inflammation goes down. When inflammation goes down, your heart and blood vessels are better protected. 3 things connected to each other. And it all starts with muscle. I refuse to stay silent about this. Muscle isn't about appearance. It's what keeps you standing, keeps you independent, keeps you off my operating table sooner than you need to be. Nothing on today's list is expensive. Nothing requires a prescription, and you can start with your very next meal. You don't need to use all 5 at once. Pick 2 or 3 that feel most accessible to you. Use them consistently. Give your body time to respond, and most importantly, stick with it. Out of these 5 fruits, which one will you start with? And more importantly, how many grams of protein are you getting each day? Write it in the comments. I read every comment on this channel, and your experience might help someone else who's losing strength and doesn't understand why. If this video was helpful, share it with someone you care about. Sometimes one video is the start of a change they've been needing. Subscribe if you haven't. Hit the notification bell. We're here every week, made specifically for people over 60. I'm Ethan Cole. Take care of your body. It's the only home you'll ever